I have way too many preamps. I've been hoarding for years, and finally I've come to the conclusion that it just really doesn't make sense for my personal purposes to keep all of them. This video is going to be made just to document the tonal character of the boxes I have right here. And we're starting off with the internal preamps of my converters. That's the Audient ID48, which I just acquired and I'm quite happy with actually. They have a pretty rounded tone and they're a very solid basis for any further treatment. So if in doubt, I think it's absolutely okay to just go with the internal preamps of this interface. Oh, and you can use the timestamps below to jump around between the recordings. I'm sticking with this Sennheiser 421. This is the RFT MR811, which has been converted to MV810 specs. Very easily done because the components inside correspond quite exactly to the MV810. It's a germanium mic preamp from Eastern Germany from the early 1970s, and it has a very, very nice warm and fat tone. It overdrives very gracefully. It's a keeper for me. Now we're heading to West Germany, 1970s. This is the Telefunken V672 in the first revision. It's entirely discrete. It has the green Telefunken double chamber output transformers. And in my book, it's a super versatile preamp that still has quite a bit of transformer coloration, but well, it's universal. It'll work on pretty much any signal and you'll be happy further down the line. And yeah, that's another keeper. This is a weird one. It's the Funkwerk Kölleda TV814-3. That's how you would say it in German. Let's call it the TV184. It's a germanium line driver, which I managed to modify by swapping the input transformer, which had a 3:1 ratio. Now it's 1:3. And I also tapped on the feedback loop of the main amplifier, achieving around 42 dB gain, which is okay-ish for most applications. And as you can hear, beautiful sound. Well, nobody knows about these. They're worth next to nothing over here in Germany, so it's another keeper. And here we are already with the most expensive box of the whole lot. This is the TAB, aka Telefunken V76. It's a very old one, serial number 124. It has been fully recapped and is in very good condition, I would say. Well, you be the judge. It does sound beautiful, of course. And it's actually the first box I'm going to sell because I just can't justify keeping it, considering the amount of vocal recording, or let's say quality vocal recording, I do these days. This is the Neumann PV76. Super expensive stuff back in the day, in the late 1960s when they came out. There's this urban myth that Abbey Road asked Neumann for a quote for an 8-track recording console, and the number they were given led to them finally founding their own department, which eventually led to the creation of such beautiful things as the TG12345 consoles and so on. PV76 was as expensive as a Volkswagen Beetle back in the day. So that's some numbers, right? Anyhow, it sounds beautiful. Am I going to keep it? It has a certain value. I'm aware of that. And I'm just not sure if the sonics justify me keeping it. I'd be interested to hear your comments, by the way. Maybe we can do some vote on which modules have to go and which ones shall be keepers. And we're moving from Germany to Austria. This is the WSW811402 germanium mic preamp from around 1963. So this is earliest transistor technology. And I have a soft spot for germanium because they tend to overdrive really gracefully and gradually. They don't just clip harshly, but they get more hair the more you drive them. I like him. This is quite definitely going to be a keeper. It's a very universally good sounding preamp. Alright, we're still stuck in the mid-60s, but we're moving to France. This is the Girardin MT48 broadcasting console. It's a mobile broadcasting mixette, like they call it, 4-in-1, all germanium, very big transformers. This one here hasn't been recapped yet. It really could use a little bit of TLC to be brought back up to speed. But as you can hear, it has this velvety, vintage, in the best sense, tone that I quite love. I have a couple more Girardins that are currently being serviced by my tech, and they're all keepers. I love them for the character. I love them for being so noisy and upfront in a good way. Now you're hearing my Studio 169 10x2 console, which I use quite a bit. It's definitely staying. It's my centerpiece for line level signals. The modular synth, for instance, usually goes through it because I quite love the EQs. The built-in limiter is quite characterful. The mic preamps have a beautiful mid-range mojo going on in my book. It's rather warm sounding for an IC-based console. In other words, it's not discrete. It has 356 ICs, if I'm not mistaken, but they're wired up in a very specific way. Those folks in Switzerland really were quite ingenious. I also have a bunch of old funky consoles that I use for color mainly, like this vintage Eaton Bray 12x2 recording studio design. It's from the 70s, no transformers though, and it's not discrete either, but it does have a tone to it. Also, I'm really fond of these old Dynacord MC1233 consoles. They are from the 70s as well, West Germany, but these guys are fully transformer balanced, entirely discrete, and they, well, overdrive beautifully, fun sounding EQs. That's a great piece of kit, really. Beautiful backlit VUs. It's just pretty. And there's no shortage of even crappier sounding mixers like this super old Yamaha VM100, I think it's called, from the 60s. Well, if you want hair and dirt, there you go. But I digress. These guys here to me sound like typical German broadcasting in the 1980s or 70s maybe. I'm old enough. Anyhow, these are the Neumann V472-2 mic preamp cards featuring proprietary Neumann 0820 discrete op amps. And they have this very precise hi-fi-ish tone that is useful, especially on acoustic guitars. I quite like them. I would have had 2 more preamps on the menu, but unfortunately my Ampex 351 tube mic preamps died all of a sudden, and the RFT V242 tube line driver has exhibited a hum all of a sudden. It would have been very nice to hear this one because it has been modified by my dear friend Max, and it's quite close to a V241. Its gain has been risen to around 32 dB, and it sounds rather lovely when it works. Maybe in the next video. So if you guys have an opinion on which preamps are to be sold, which ones are keepers, I'm very keen to hear what you have to say. I will put some thought into it, and I guess some of the boxes will end up on Reverb. Anyhow, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.